Okay, so Ovid pretty faithfully retells the story of Medea, who most will probably know as the woman who ended up killing her own two children, a princess and a king. But to really understand her motivations for doing so, you have to kind of go back from before the story. So in Ovid's retelling, he does do a pretty faithful retelling of how Medea met her husband, Jason. So basically, Jason was tasked with retrieving a golden fleece, which was located in her country of Colchis. She was the daughter of the king, and she fell in love with Jason at first sight, so she promised him that she would help him get the golden fleece if he would take her with her. So in order to get to the golden fleece, he had to complete 3 tasks. The first one was to plow a field with fire-breathing oxen. She gave him ointment that she coated on his weapons and his body that helped protect them from their flames. Then he sewed dragon teeth into the fields that he had just plowed, which somehow gave birth to an army. I'm not making this up. The army, he ended up defeating the army by throwing a rock into the middle of them, and nobody knew where the rock came from, so they started killing each other. And for the final task, he had to get past a dragon that was guarding the golden fleece, by which she put the dragon to sleep using herbs. After that, they sailed away, but her father realized what she had done, and so what she did was that she sent people out to go and get them, one of which included his son and Medea's brother, whom, in order to slow down her pursuers, she ended up killing, cutting up into a bunch of tiny little pieces and throwing him into the ocean. Ovid pretty faithfully retells that story. There aren't many differences, although he does gloss over, for the most part, their later adventures until they get to Corinth, because he pretty much just assumes at this point that the reader is familiar with Medea's adventures. His recreation of Metamorphosis is pretty faithful too. The only major difference is really that he humanizes Medea. In the original, Medea shows very little, if any, remorse for any of her actions, where here her perspective is greatly expanded upon, wherein she kind of feels as though everything that's happening to her, with her being left for a younger woman and her 2 children being exiled, is penance for her having killed and mostly destroyed her own family and betrayed her homeland. And now that she's without homeland and her family's all but torn apart, she feels as though she can't help but take revenge, and that really it's her only option at this point because she's got nothing else left to live for. So I guess in that sense, you could say that Ovid took what was a fairly one-dimensional character and made her much more complex and nuanced than the original work did.
Well, that's actually a good segue to the second part of the presentation, where when you compare the older version with Ovid's interpretation, it seems like Jason got all the blame for like all Medea's doing, and Medea didn't show any emotions in the older version. But in the second version, as he said, he humanizes Medea. And I'll just like read like a couple passages to kind of. There's one passage on 107 says, I go to my neatly arranged chamber and lie on my couch, deeply hurt, weeping. I passed the night. I could clearly see all that happened: the bulls, the horrible crop, as well as the serpent that never sleeps. Love and fear competed with me, and fear shot me in the pangs of loving. So I think in that way, he's kind of creating some relatability factor between the reader and his writing. And also he talks about how much hate Medea has on the other woman that Jason ends up with, and kind of describes her emotions like, oh, all that work so that she can enjoy it, and now she's been left out. So in that way, I think he's growing. He is making us feel sympathy for her because he's talking so much about her emotions. And then the second question is he a feminist writer? I don't know. It's hard to say. It depends what his intentions are, because we have to understand Medea did so many things. She did so many things. She killed a dragon, went against bulls, went against her family. So if the point was to show like maybe an issue in the society that women are controlled so much about just love, and that this is wrong, that there should be more that women can do, then yes, that makes sense if that he's a feminist writer. But a lot in this poem he portrays Medea very powerless for something materialistic. So I'm not sure what was their intentions there. And then lastly, are women justified in ending? Is she justified for what she's doing? No. I mean, you can't justify killing your kids. I mean, you could relate emotionally, but I don't think you can relate what she did.
Oh, so that this was a typical love letter is to say no, because she doesn't, like in a lot of the other love letters that Ovid writes, and also other Roman ones. They're all about them being sad and upset that their man is like going off with someone, or he doesn't like them. But in this one, she's upset and she's really devastated, but she seeks revenge completely. So she like kills people, and I mean that's really not a typical love letter where she's like, yeah, I'm upset, but I'm gonna still have revenge and kill everyone. Uh, so that's why I don't think it was a typical one. But is he experimenting with tradition? I think so. In a sense, that's why he's experimenting with tradition, not diverging from the original story like they mentioned, but he still tweaks the tradition of the typical love story. And was he really playing with humor in this? I don't think it was very humorous. I mean, it might have been funny, I guess, to see everyone get killed, I guess, in a way, but it wasn't really a take on humor.